I'll go live. Namaste, sir. Hello. Upendra Reddy garu, namaskaram, sir. Hello. 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 Okay. Yeah, we are going live now.
Okay,
sir. Meeru video kuda on chesukovali, sir, please.
Chestan.
Okay.
I made copy.
Oh, no issues. Anyway, Telangana Jana Vedika 448వ ఈ సెషన్ కు విచ్చేసిన అందరికీ స్వాగతం, సుస్వాగతం. మనం ప్రతి ఆదివారం నిర్వహించుకునే సదస్సులో భాగంగా ఇది 448వ సదస్సు. ఈ సదస్సులో మనము ఎంచుకున్న అంశము 15వ ఆర్థిక
సంఘం
గ్రామీణ స్థానిక
సంస్థలకు డైరెక్ట్ ఫండింగ్ అనే దాని మీద మనం ఎంచుకున్న అంశం ఈ రోజు. దాని మీద మాట్లాడడానికి మన వేదికకు విచ్చేసిన మాజీ వైస్ ఛాన్సలర్ గారు మరియు అనేక ఎకనామిక్స్ లో ప్రొఫెసర్ గా ఉండి అనేక సంస్థల్లో కానీ అనేక ఎకనామిక్స్ డిపార్ట్మెంట్ లో అనేక పదవులు అలంకరించిన సుదర్శన్ రావు గారికి స్వాగతం, సుస్వాగతం. ఈరోజు ఈ అంశాన్ని ఎంచుకోవడానికి మరి భారతదేశంలో మనకు ఫెడరల్ స్ఫూర్తితోనే నడవాలని మనం రాజ్యాంగంలో నడుచుకున్న అంశాన్ని తీసుకొని ముఖ్యంగా గత 3-4 సంవత్సరాలుగా మనం చూస్తున్న అంశము ఫండింగ్ డైరెక్ట్ గా గ్రామాలకు పంపిస్తామని కేంద్ర ప్రభుత్వము, అలాగే మరి రాష్ట్ర ప్రభుత్వాలు ఫండింగ్ మా ద్వారానే కావాలి, అభివృద్ధి అనేది ఇది ఒక ఫెడరల్ స్ఫూర్తికి విరుద్ధంగా ఉన్నది, కోఆపరేటివ్ ఫెడరలిజానికి వ్యతిరేకంగా నడుస్తుందని రాష్ట్ర ప్రభుత్వాలు ఇంత గొడవ చేస్తున్నప్పుడు ఇది చాలా కీలకమైన అంశంగా వేదిక భావించి సుదర్శన్ రావు గారు ఈ టాపిక్ మీద మాట్లాడుతానగానే దీని మీద ఇమీడియట్లీ వేదిక స్పందించి వేదికలో ఈ డిస్కషన్ చేయాలి అనేది మనం నిర్ణయం తీసుకోవడం జరిగింది. అయితే మరి ఈరోజు భారతదేశంలో ప్రతి రాష్ట్రము ప్రతి గ్రామము అంతర్భాగమే అవుతుంది తప్ప ఇదేదో ఒక కేంద్ర ప్రభుత్వమే దీని గుత్త పెట్టుబడి తనం చేయడము, లేకపోతే ఆర్థిక సంఘం ఇప్పుడు 15వ ఆర్థిక సంఘంలో గ్రామాలకు పెట్టుబడిలా ఇవ్వాలి, ముఖ్యంగా ఎన్ఆర్ఈజిఎస్ స్కీమ్ కింద డబ్బులు ఎట్లా రావాలి, ఏం చేయాలి అనేది మాట్లాడతారని నేను భావిస్తున్నా. సుదర్శన్ రావు గారు మాట్లాడతారని నేను భావిస్తున్నా. సుదర్శన్ రావు గారికి అనేకమైన అనుభవం ఉన్నది, పెద్ద అనుభవం ఉన్న వ్యక్తిగా వారు ఆర్థిక సంఘానికి ఆంధ్రప్రదేశ్ ఆర్థిక సంఘానికి సభ్యుడిగా కూడా పనిచేసినారు. వారు ఈ విషయంలో మాట్లాడతారు. నేను ఎక్కువ మాట్లాడకుండా ఇప్పుడు ప్రొఫెసర్ ఆక్తోట శ్రీనివాసులు గారిని దీన్ని మోడరేట్ చేస్తూ సుదర్శన్ రావు గారిని పరిచయం మీ అందరికీ చేయాల్సింది. ఆల్రెడీ పరిచయం స్వాతి మిశ్రా ఒక మంచి పోస్టర్ పెట్టినారు, వారికి కూడా ధన్యవాదాలు. మరియు మనోజ్ రెడ్డి గారిని హైదరాబాద్ చాప్టర్ ఇన్ఛార్జ్ వారు కన్వీనర్, వారు ఈరోజు సుదర్శన్ రావు గారిని వేదికకు పరిచయం చేయడం, ఈ వేదికకు తీసుకురావడం కూడా వారికి కూడా ధన్యవాదాలు తెలుపుతున్నాను. మరి ఇప్పుడు నేను మన ఆనవాయితీ ప్రకారము మన రాజ్యాంగ పీఠికను చదివి ప్రొఫెసర్ ఆక్తోట శ్రీనివాసులు గారిని ఈ సభను మోడరేట్ చేయవలసిందిగా కోరుతున్నాను. ఐ విల్ రీడ్ అవుట్ ది ప్రియాంబుల్. రాజ్యాంగ పీఠికను చదువుతాను. భారత ప్రజలమైన మేము భారతదేశాన్ని సర్వసత్తాక సామ్యవాద లౌకిక ప్రజాస్వామ్య గణతంత్ర రాజ్యంగా నిర్మించుకోవడానికి పౌరులందరికీ సాంఘిక ఆర్థిక రాజకీయ న్యాయాన్ని, ఆలోచన, భావ ప్రకటన, విశ్వాసము, ధర్మము, ఆరాధనల స్వతంత్రాన్ని, అంతస్తులోను అవకాశాల్లోనూ సమానత్వాన్ని చేకూర్చడానికి వారందరిలో వ్యక్తిత్వ గౌరవాన్ని, జాతీయ సమైక్యతను సంరక్షిస్తూ సౌభాతృత్వాన్ని పెంపొందించడానికి మన ఈ రాజ్యాంగ పరిషత్తులో 1949 నవంబర్ 26వ తేదీన ఎంపిక చేసుకుని శాసనంగా రూపొందించుకున్న ఈ రాజ్యాంగాన్ని మాకు మేము సమర్పించుకుంటున్నాం. ఈ రాజ్యాంగాన్ని మనము 72 సంవత్సరాలు దాదాపు అయింది. ఈ రాజ్యాంగాన్ని మనము సమర్పించుకున్నాము. రాజ్యాంగ నిర్మాణంలో ప్రతి అంశాన్ని కూడా కీలకంగా చర్చించి, అంటే దాదాపు ఒక 240 మంది 270 మంది కూర్చొని భారతదేశంలోని ప్రతి అంశాన్ని భారత ప్రజలు, ఎందుకంటే మనకు భిన్న రాష్ట్రాలు, భిన్న మతాలు, భిన్నమైన వ్యక్తిత్వాలు, భిన్నమైన భాషలు మాట్లాడే ఈ దేశాన్ని ఒక తాటిపై తీసుకొచ్చి మేము ఈ రాజ్యాంగాన్ని సమర్పించుకుంటున్నాం అని చెప్పిన ఒక గొప్ప ప్రక్రియ భారతదేశంలో జరిగింది. అదే ఒక పెద్ద సోషల్ రెవల్యూషన్ గా మేమైతే భావిస్తున్నాము. ఇప్పుడు డాక్టర్ ఆకుతోట శ్రీనివాసులు గారిని సభను మోడరేట్ చేస్తూ ఇవాళ కీలక అంశం మాట్లాడేదానికి వచ్చిన ప్రొఫెసర్ సుదర్శన్ రావు గారితో మాట్లాడవలసిందిగా కోరుతున్నాను. థ్యాంక్ యూ సో మచ్.
థ్యాంక్ యూ సార్. థ్యాంక్ యూ. సార్ ఓకేనా? తెలంగాణ జన వేదిక జూమ్ ఆన్లైన్ మీటింగ్ కు విచ్చేసినటువంటి ప్రొఫెసర్ సుదర్శన్ రావు గారికి, వేదిక సభ్యులు, ఇతర మిత్రులందరికీ స్వాగతం. ఇవాల్టి అంశము చాలా దేశంలోనే అతి ముఖ్యమైనటువంటి అంశంగా నేను భావిస్తున్నాను. ఎందుకంటే వాళ్ళ గ్రామీణ ప్రాంతాలంతా కూడా ఎటువైపు ప్రయాణం చేస్తున్నాయి, లేదా భారతదేశం అంతా కూడా ఎటువైపు ఈ యొక్క ప్రభుత్వాలు, కేంద్ర ప్రభుత్వం కావచ్చు, ఇటు రాష్ట్ర ప్రభుత్వాలు కావచ్చు, గ్రామీణ వ్యవస్థను మొత్తం కూడా విచ్ఛిన్నం చేసేటువంటి ప్రయత్నంలో భాగంగా ఇవాళ దేశంలో అర్బనైజేషన్ పేరుతోని గ్రామీణ వ్యవస్థను మొత్తం కూడా విచ్ఛిన్నం చేసేటువంటి ప్రయత్నంలో భాగంగానే ఇవాళ నగరీకరణ, పట్టణీకరణ పేరుతోని గ్రామాలను అణగదొక్కుతున్నారని చెప్పడంలో ఏమాత్రం సందేహం లేదు. ముఖ్యంగా ఈ దేశం లోపల మహాత్మా గాంధీ గారు దేశానికి పట్టుకొమ్మలు గ్రామాలు అని ఎంత స్పష్టంగా చెప్పాడో, అంటే గ్రామాల అభివృద్ధి చెందితేనే జిల్లా అభివృద్ధి చెందుతుంది, జిల్లా అభివృద్ధి చెందితేనే రాష్ట్రాలు అభివృద్ధి చెందుతాయి, రాష్ట్రాల అభివృద్ధి చెందితేనే దేశం అభివృద్ధి చెందుతుంది అనేటువంటి ఒక దృక్పథంతో, ఒక ఆలోచన విధానంతో నాడు మహాత్మా గాంధీ గారు అంత గొప్ప చెప్పినటువంటి విషయాన్ని వాళ్ళ పాలకులు తుంగలో తెక్కినటువంటి విషయాన్ని మనము అర్థం చేసుకోవాలి. అందుకే ఆనాడు బ్రిటిష్ కాలంలోనే ఈ యొక్క లిటిల్ రిపబ్లిక్ గా మెట్కాఫ్ అనేటువంటి మహానుభావుడు చెప్పడం అనేటువంటి జరిగింది. లిటిల్ రిపబ్లిక్ గా భారత స్థానిక ప్రభుత్వాలను చెప్పడం అనేటువంటి జరిగింది. అందుకే నాటి గ్రామీణ లేదా స్థానిక ప్రభుత్వాలను లార్డ్ రిపన్ ను మనము ఫాదర్ ఆఫ్ లోకల్ గవర్నమెంట్ గా మనం పిలవడం అనేటువంటి జరుగుతుంది. సరే, ప్రధానంగా దానికంటే ముందు చోళుల కాలం లోపల ఈ దేశం లోపల గ్రామీణ వ్యవస్థకు పటిష్టమైనటువంటి పునాదులు వేసినటువంటి వారు చోళులు అనేటువంటి విషయాన్ని కూడా మనం ఈ సందర్భంగా గుర్తు తెచ్చుకోవాలి. కాబట్టి చోళులు అభివృద్ధి చేసినటువంటి గ్రామీణ వ్యవస్థ ఏదైతే ఉందో, స్థానిక ప్రభుత్వాలు ఏవైతే ఉన్నాయో, ఆ తర్వాత బ్రిటిష్ వారు సైతం కూడా కొద్ది మేరకు అభివృద్ధి చేసినప్పటికీ ప్రస్తుత సమాజం లోపల గ్రామీణ వ్యవస్థ ఏ రకంగా ఉంది, అందుకే దాన్ని వాళ్ళ గ్రామీణ వ్యవస్థ వ్యవస్థ కాదు, గ్రామీణ ప్రభుత్వాలు, స్థానిక సంస్థలు, స్వతంత్ర సంస్థలుగా అవి రూపుదిద్దుకున్నటువంటి వీటిని వాళ్ళ రాష్ట్ర ప్రభుత్వాలు, కేంద్ర ప్రభుత్వాలు అన్నీ కూడా వాటిని అణగదొక్కేటువంటి ప్రయత్నం చేస్తున్నాయి. అందుకే మహానుభావుడు ఈ దేశం లోపల స్వర్గీయ రాజీవ్ గాంధీ గారు 65వ రాజ్యాంగ సవరణను తీసుకొచ్చేటువంటి ప్రయత్నం చేయడం జరిగింది. రాజీవ్ గాంధీ సమయంలోనే 1989 సంవత్సరం లోపల ఈ యొక్క 65వ సవరణ తీసుకొచ్చారు. ఈ 65వ సవరణ ఈ లోకసభలో పాస్ అవుతుంది, కానీ రాజ్యసభలో ఫెయిల్ అవడం వలన అది పక్కకు పోతుంది. ఆ తర్వాత వచ్చినటువంటి విపి సింగ్ గారు తన యొక్క ప్రభుత్వం కూలిపోవడంతోనే దాన్ని పక్కకు వేయడం అనేటువంటి జరిగింది. ఆ తర్వాత వచ్చినటువంటి 1991లో వచ్చినటువంటి పివి నరసింహారావు గారు యొక్క 74వ రాజ్యాంగ సవరణను పార్లమెంట్ లో ప్రవేశపెట్టడం, అది రెండు ఉభయ సభల లోపల పాస్ కావడము, అదే 73 మరియు 74. 73వ రాజ్యాంగ సవరణ అంటే పంచాయతీరాజ్ వ్యవస్థకు సంబంధించింది. 74వ రాజ్యాంగ సవరణ అనేటువంటిది పట్టణాభివృద్ధికి లేదా పట్టణాలకు సంబంధించి నగరాలకు సంబంధించినటువంటి విషయాలకు సంబంధించిన ప్రభుత్వాలకు సంబంధించిన విషయంగా మనం గుర్తుపెట్టుకోవాలి. కాబట్టి మనం ఇవాళ పర్టికులర్ గా మాట్లాడుకునేటువంటిది 73వ రాజ్యాంగ సవరణ గురించినటువంటి ప్రధానమైనటువంటి విషయం. అందుకే 1993 ఏప్రిల్ 24వ తేదీన ఈ యొక్క 73వ రాజ్యాంగ సవరణ అనేటువంటిది అమల్లోకి వచ్చింది. అందుకే ఇవాళ దేశం లోపల ఏప్రిల్ 24వ తేదీని రాజ్యాంగ లేదా పంచాయతీరాజ్ దినోత్సవాన్ని గొప్పగా జరుపుతున్నటువంటి ఈ దేశం లోపల రాష్ట్ర ప్రభుత్వాలు పూర్తిగా మర్చిపోయేసి ఏప్రిల్ 24వ తేదీని రాజ్యాంగ లేదా ఈ యొక్క పంచాయతీరాజ్ వ్యవస్థ దినోత్సవాన్ని మర్చిపోవడం అనేటువంటిది మనము కొద్దిగా ఆలోచించవలసినటువంటి అవసరం ఉన్నది. ఇది మొట్టమొదటిసారిగా 73వ రాజ్యాంగ సవరణ అనేటువంటిది కర్ణాటక రాష్ట్రంలో మొట్టమొదటిసారిగా అమల్లోకి తీసుకురావడం అనేటువంటిది జరిగింది. సరే, ఏది ఏమైనప్పటికీ ఈ మధ్య కాలంలోనే కేసీఆర్ గారు, తెలంగాణ ముఖ్యమంత్రి అయినటువంటి కేసీఆర్ గారు, వారు పెద్ద ఎత్తున ఒక పెద్ద కామెంట్ కూడా చేశారు. కేంద్ర ప్రభుత్వము డైరెక్ట్ గా రాష్ట్ర ఈ యొక్క స్థానిక ప్రభుత్వాలు అయినటువంటి గ్రామ పంచాయతీలకు నిధులను మొత్తంగా ఇవ్వకూడదు, అది రాష్ట్ర ప్రభుత్వాలకు ఇస్తేనే మేము ఇస్తామనే చెప్పడం అనేది. కానీ మనం ఇక్కడ అర్థం చేసుకోవాల్సినటువంటి అంటే 73వ రాజ్యాంగ సవరణ లోపల ప్రధానంగా 243 243 ఓ 243 ఏ దగ్గర నుండి మొదలుకుంటే 243 ఓ వరకు ఈ యొక్క 73వ రాజ్యాంగ సవరణకు సంబంధించినటువంటి అనేక విషయాలు చాలా స్పష్టంగా 73వ రాజ్యాంగ సవరణలో చెప్పడం అనేటువంటి జరిగింది. అంటే పంచాయతీరాజ్ సంస్థ విధులు 29 విధులు 11వ షెడ్యూల్లో చేర్చడం అనేటువంటి జరిగింది ఒకవైపు. రెండో వైపు 243 ఓ వరకు కూడా ఈ యొక్క పంచాయతీరాజ్ వ్యవస్థకు సంబంధించినటువంటి అనేక విషయాల గురించి చాలా స్పష్టంగా రాజ్యాంగంలో చెప్పారు. ప్రధానంగా 243 ఐ లోపల రాష్ట్ర ఆర్థిక సంఘం గురించి చాలా స్పష్టంగా క్లియర్ గా గ్రామీణ సంస్థలకు సంబంధించినటువంటి వ్యవస్థలకు 243 ఐ రాష్ట్ర ఆర్థిక సంఘము చాలా స్పష్టంగా చెప్తుంది. అంటే రాష్ట్ర ఆర్థిక సంఘము ఈ యొక్క గ్రామీణ ప్రభుత్వాలకు నిధులను కేటాయించడం అనేటువంటి దాని గురించి చాలా స్పష్టంగా తెలపడం అనేటువంటి జరిగింది. కానీ 14వ లోకసభ ఆర్థిక సంఘం ఏదైతే ఉందో ఈ దేశంలో ఉండేటువంటి గ్రామ ప్రభుత్వాలకు లేదా పంచాయతీరాజ్లకు ఒక గ్రామ పంచాయతీకి సుమారుగా సంవత్సర కాలానికి 9 లక్షల రూపాయల నిధులను స్పష్టంగా ఇచ్చేటువంటి ప్రయత్నం చేసింది 14వ ఆర్థిక సంఘం లోపల. మన తెలంగాణ ప్రభుత్వం ఏదైతే ఉందో పంచాయతీరాజ్ చట్టము 2018వ సంవత్సరం లోపల పంచాయతీరాజ్ చట్టము అనేటువంటిది తెలంగాణ రాష్ట్రం లోపల 2018 రాజ్యాంగ తెలంగాణ పంచాయతీరాజ్ చట్టం లోపల 5 లక్షల రూపాయల నిధులు ఇస్తామని చెప్పింది. కానీ ఇంతవరకు 1 రూపాయి కూడా గ్రామీణ ప్రభుత్వాలకు అవి ఇవ్వకపోవడం అనేటువంటిది మనము శోచనీయం. అందుకే వాళ్ళ కేంద్ర ప్రభుత్వాలు అనేకమైనటువంటి పథకాల ద్వారా, ముఖ్యంగా గ్రామీణ ఉపాధి హామీ పథకం కానీ, ఇందిరా ఆవాస్ యోజన కానీ, మిడ్ డే మీల్స్ కానీ, నేషనల్ ఫ్యామిలీ బెనిఫిట్ స్కీమ్ కానీ, చైల్డ్ డెవలప్మెంట్ స్కీములు కానీ, డ్రింకింగ్ వాటర్ స్కీమ్ కానీ, గ్రామీణ సడక్ యోజన కానీ, ఇవన్నీ కూడా కేంద్ర ప్రభుత్వం ద్వారా వచ్చేటువంటి నిధులు ఏవైతే ఉన్నాయో వాటిని మొత్తంగా ఈ యొక్క గ్రామ పంచాయతీలకు డైరెక్ట్ గా నిధులు వేసేటువంటి వాటి ద్వారా గ్రామాలు అనేటువంటివి స్వయం పోషకత్వంతో వాటిని అభివృద్ధి చేసుకోవడానికి అవకాశాలు ఉన్నాయనేటువంటి గొప్ప సంకల్పంతో పాలనా వికేంద్రీకరణ దృష్టిలో పెట్టుకొని ఇవాళ కేంద్ర ప్రభుత్వము ఈ యొక్క 73వ రాజ్యాంగ సవరణలో ఇంత స్పష్టంగా చెప్పినప్పటికీ ఇవాళ రాష్ట్ర ప్రభుత్వాలు వాటిని నీరుగారుస్తూ గ్రామీణ వ్యవస్థను కుప్పగొలుస్తున్నాయని చెప్పడంలో ఏమాత్రం సందేహం లేదు. ఈ మధ్య కాలంలో మన ఆంధ్రప్రదేశ్ రాష్ట్రంలో ఉన్నటువంటి గ్రామ పంచాయతీలో ఉండేటువంటి అకౌంట్స్ అన్ని కూడా ఆ రాష్ట్ర ప్రభుత్వం అన్ని కూడా జీరో అకౌంట్ గా చేసేసి అందులో ఏ డబ్బులు లేకుండా చేసినటువంటి ఘనత కూడా ఇవాళ మనం చూస్తున్నాం కళ్ళతో. అదేవిధంగా తెలంగాణ రాష్ట్రంలో పెద్ద గొప్పగా ఏం లేదు, అభివృద్ధి కార్యక్రమాల పేరుతో కూడా పంచాయతీరాజ్ లోపల ఉండేటువంటి ఏవైతే ఉన్నాయో అవి చేస్తే ఆ నిధులను ఇప్పటికీ సర్పంచులకు ఇవ్వకుండా అనేక మంది సర్పంచులు ఇవాళ ఆత్మహత్యలు చేసుకుంటున్నారంటే దీన్ని బట్టి మనము అర్థం చేసుకోవాలి. కాబట్టి ఇప్పటికైనా కూడా కేంద్ర రాష్ట్ర ప్రభుత్వాలు గ్రామ పంచాయతీ వ్యవస్థను పునర్నిర్మించి వాటిని బలోపేతం చేయడానికి కృషి చేయవలసినటువంటి అవసరం ఎంతైనా ఉంది అని చెప్పేసి నేను భావిస్తూ ఇవాల్టి అంశం ఏంటంటే 15వ ఆర్థిక సంఘము గ్రామీణ స్థానిక సంస్థలకు కాయా నిధులు అనేటువంటి అంశం పైన ప్రొఫెసర్ రొక్కం సుదర్శన్ రావు గారు, వారు చాలా సీనియర్ ప్రొఫెసరు, వారు వైస్ ఛాన్సలర్ సింహాద్రి సింహపురి యూనివర్సిటీ వైస్ ఛాన్సలర్ గా పనిచేశారు. అట్లాగే ఇన్ఛార్జ్ వైస్ ఛాన్సలర్ గా ద్రావిడియన్ యూనివర్సిటీ కుప్పంలో కూడా మరి ఇన్ఛార్జ్ వైస్ ఛాన్సలర్ గా పనిచేశారు. హెడ్ డిపార్ట్మెంట్ అండ్ బోర్డ్ ఆఫ్ స్టడీస్ చైర్పర్సన్ గా ఎకనామిక్స్ డిపార్ట్మెంట్ లో కూడా వారు పనిచేశారు. సుమారుగా 40 సంవత్సరాల కాలం పాటు టీచింగ్ లోపల అంటే ప్రొఫెసర్ గా పనిచేశారు. అట్లాగే వీరికి 3 మంది పిహెచ్డి స్కాలర్లు గాను మరియు 8 మంది ఎంఫిల్ స్కాలర్లు గాను పనిచేశారు. వారు ఇప్పుడు ప్రస్తుతం దేశ విదేశాల్లో ఉన్నతమైనటువంటి స్థానాల్లో ఉన్నారు. వీరు 75 రీసెర్చ్ ఆర్టికల్లు రాయడం, తర్వాత 10 పుస్తకాలను కూడా బుక్స్ కూడా రచించడం అనేటువంటిది జరిగింది. వారిని ఈ యొక్క అంశం పైన 15వ ఆర్థిక సంఘము గ్రామీణ స్థానిక సంస్థలకు సహాయ నిధులు అనేటువంటి అంశం మీద మాట్లాడవలసిందిగా ప్రొఫెసర్ రొక్కం సుదర్శన్ రావు గారిని సాదరంగా ఆహ్వానిస్తున్నాం. సార్, ప్రొఫెసర్ సుదర్శన్ రావు గారు.
థ్యాంక్ యూ వెరీ మచ్ శ్రీనివాస్ గారు. గుడ్ ఈవినింగ్ ఎవ్రీబడి, ఆల్ ద పార్టిసిపెంట్స్.
గుడ్ ఈవినింగ్ సార్.
శ్రీ మనోజ్ రెడ్డి గారు, తక్కనేపల్లి రామారావు గారు, కన్వీనర్ ఆఫ్ TJV, Srinivas garu, who is presiding over this, coordinating this particular webinar. Telangana Jana Vedika executive members and other members of TJV and other participants, you're all welcome to this webinar. I'm very, very happy to associate myself with this webinar by making a small presentation on the chosen topic. I appreciate the efforts of TJV for organizing this kind of activities with a multidisciplinary approach, especially that is also important. I observed in the note you sent to me, I observed you are organizing several programs, around 50 programs. You just Ramaragaru told you organized about 48-50 programs on multidisciplinary topics. I thank the organizers, particularly Manoj Reddy garu and Ramaragaru, for inviting me to interact with all of you, to make a brief presentation on this particular topic. There are 2-3 reasons for choosing this particular topic. First, I apologize that this is not a topic. This is not a topic which is very exciting or which generates some sensation, in the sense that maybe it's an important topic, but may not be of much contemporary relevance of by causing any anxiety or excitement. But it has its own importance. One reason is it's not much discussed. It's not a much discussed topic, I believe. And the second thing is, this is a topic that relates to promoting cooperative fiscal federalism in India, which was not earlier the scenario. Only it emerged in the last few decades. And another important selfish reason is by being a past member, former member of State Finance Commission, 4th State Finance Commission of Government of Andhra Pradesh, I am personally interested to speak on this particular topic. So if somebody appreciates really and enjoys, maybe if I speak on a comparison like the Sri Lankan economy and the Indian economy or Andhra Pradesh or Telangana, something like that. But I didn't want to choose like that, because this is a topic which has some sustained interest. And to start, before starting the topic, I must tell you that I am confined to certain limitations or constraints regarding this particular topic, because the Union Finance Commission itself has its own limitations regarding the state finances or union finances. It won't take into account all the budget needs of a state. Ramarao Garu, while speaking about, he referred certain programs being implemented by the central government. In fact, the Union Finance Commission is not connected to all those programs. It is connected, as per the Indian Constitution, it is connected to the non-plan. In those days, now there is no planning commission, of course. It is confined only to assess the non-plan needs of the state governments. So that is one limitation. I am speaking on a topic which is very, very important from the point of view of rural economy, rural people, well-being of the rural people, rural development, etc. But at the same time, it's not very, the scope is very, very limited. And because the Finance Commission scope itself is very limited from the point of view of state budgets. And moreover, I thought that in view of my own experience in webinars, if I take up the total grants in aid of the Finance Commission, I think it runs into, say, some 2 hours or so, definitely, because this is in fact, that's why I confine myself only to the grants in aid recommended by the Union Finance Commission, 15th Union Finance Commission, to rural local governments or rural local bodies. In fact, there is a lot of literature whether we should call rural local governments or rural local bodies, as rightly pointed out by our Srinivas Garu. We should not say there is a strong objection when we use the word rural local body. It's not a body actually. It should be a rural local government. We should make it a rural government. But things are not like that. So keeping aside, what I'm saying is there are some certain constraints. I'm not speaking everything that relates to the state finances or union finances, all programs or etc. etc. I'm confining myself only to the grants in aid recommended by the Finance Commission, 15th Finance Commission, or Finance Commissions in general, to the rural local government, mainly the panchayat, gram panchayats. Here, I think you're all very senior people. As I look at your faces and this thing, I need not dwell upon much about the technicalities. The Finance Commission document itself is too technical and legal also. It's a technical and legal document, to be frank. So I would like to dwell upon or spend a few minutes in terms of introducing certain developments after we adopted the Indian Constitution. Rightly pointed out by Srinivas Garu that the origin of Panchayati Raj or Gram governments, village governments, in a rudimentary form goes back to Chalukyas and others, and there was evolution and all that. But I don't go that much far. But from the point of view of Indian Constitution and beyond the Indian Constitution, post-Indian Constitution scenario, I would like to say a few things to you. Ramarao Garu, నాకు still I am facing this problem అండి. నాకు స్లైడ్స్ కనిపించట్లేదు. దిస్
కనిపిస్తున్నాయి సార్, మాకు కనిపిస్తున్నాయి.
మీకు కనిపిస్తుంది. నాకు ఇక్కడ ఏమైందంటే, ఇక్కడ ఈ స్లైడ్ మీద వస్తుంది, దిస్ మీటింగ్ ఈజ్ బీయింగ్ రికార్డెడ్ బై ద హోస్ట్ ఆర్ ఏ పార్టిసిపెంట్ అని వస్తుంది. మొదటి నుంచి వస్తా ఉంది. ఐ డోంట్ నో, గాట్ ఇట్ కిందనే గాట్ ఇట్ లీవ్ మీటింగ్ అని, గాట్ ఇట్ అని కొడితే ఇంకేదో వచ్చేస్తా ఉంది. ఐ డోంట్ నో హౌ టు మేనేజ్.
గాట్ ఇట్ అని కొట్టేయండి.
గాట్ ఇట్ అని కొడితే ఇది మొత్తం పోతుంది అనమాట.
పోదు.
Host is not allowing participants to unmute themselves. Okay అంటాను. ఓకే ఉంది ఇక్కడ. Again got it అని వచ్చింది.
అలా got it కొట్టేయండి.
Now it is cleared and let us hope that it will not be a hurdle. Okay. So
hurdle now.
Yeah. See, in the Indian Constitution, the existence of rural local bodies is not mandatory. Because there was a lot of discussion in the Constituent Assembly, and the constitutional makers mainly Dr. Ambedkar opposed the constitution of rural local governments. Dr. Ambedkar called the panchayat governments as the dens of democracy. He attributed the local governments as dens of democracy because in those days, maybe he felt that because the rural economies, rural area is controlled by feudalists, etc., and caste groups, etc., he might have that feeling. So he opposed the very existence of or formation of local governments. So in the Indian constitution, you don't have in any schedule, they didn't make any separate schedule for this. However, that is the reason why our federation is a two-tier federation. We have a two-tier federal structure. The central government, a union government, and the state governments. Without going into the details or controversy whether India is a federation or a union government, we will set apart that. Let us say that it is a two-tier federal structure. But several people, including Mahatma Gandhi, as pointed out by earlier speakers, Mahatma Gandhi saw that in the local, there should be local self-government. He used the word self-governments. He categorically said that India lives in rural areas, in villages. So he emphasized the need for formation of local governments. So taking into consideration Mahatma Gandhi's views and other views, they put it in the directive principles of state policy. Article 40, the directive principles of state policy makes a mention about the rural local bodies. It is I stated that's why because it has some importance. The state shall take steps to organize village panchayats and endow them with such powers and authority as may be necessary to enable them to function as units of self-government. So the wording clearly explains it is left to the respective state governments whether to form a local government or not, whether to have panchayat raj system or not, whether two-tier, three-tier, whatever it is. So until the 73rd and 74th Constitution Amendment Acts were made, local governments in India was not mandated, was not statutory. So only after implementation of the 73rd and 74th Constitutional Amendment Acts by conformity acts by the respective state governments, local governments have become the part and parcel of the federal structure. From 1993 onwards only, India became a three-tier federal structure. So then next one. So mandatorily, for example, I think Andhra Pradesh, the combined Andhra Pradesh was the second state government to form local governments in India. First was Rajasthan. Just because of only one day, we got the second place. Rajasthan, one day in advance, they established local governments, panchayat raj system and all that. So because once it was made mandatory, no state can escape because the rules, Article 243 clearly spells out about the formation of local governments, both rural and urban. For example, a state like, what is that state? Himachal Pradesh. Himachal Pradesh did not have a rural local body or urban local body in whatever form it is until 1996. Only after making the Conformity Act in view of the mandatory 73rd and 74th Amendment Acts, they started. Until then, there are local governments in several states, but they are not very active and etc., different stages. So because of the amendment, 73rd Amendment Act, we confine, as far as my lecture or presentation is confined, 73rd Amendment, it relates to 73rd Amendment, mainly the rural local governments. So as a result of that, every state started, if not earlier, there were local governments. There were 3.1 million representatives and 0.26 million, that means 26 lakh rural local bodies all over India because of these 73rd Amendment came into existence. Similarly, as far as the urban local bodies are concerned, 206 municipal corporations, 1683 municipalities and 2411 Nagar Panchayats are functioning. So in Andhra Pradesh, right now we have our own local bodies. Like in Telangana, we have about 12,769 Gram Panchayats, 540 Mandals, and 32 Jilla Parishads. Whereas in Andhra Pradesh, we have about 13,367 Gram Panchayats, 679 Mandal Parishads, and 20 Jilla Parishads presently, after we reorganized the districts and all that recently. So after the 73rd Amendment came into existence, by that time, there was a wide gap between the resource and provision of basic services. People talk about rural-urban divide. There was a wide gap between the urban amenities and rural amenities even today. Even if you consider only the rural areas, as far as the provision of basic services, basic amenities are concerned, there's a big gap between the resources they have and the basic amenities that they are required. The 73rd Amendment gave scope for another important thing, that is the emergence of State Finance Commission under Article 243I and Y, subclauses I and Y. It gives scope for the emergence of setting up of a State Finance Commission by every state government. Of course, there is a lot of issues as far as the setting up of State Finance Commission, functioning of the State Finance Commission, but almost all the states started constituting State Finance Commissions. In fact, as per the 73rd and 74th Amendment Acts, especially 73rd Amendment Acts, it gives scope for the emergence of three bodies. One is DPC, District Planning Committee. The second one is State Finance Commission. The third one is State Election Commission. Earlier, we don't have a State Election Commission. Only after 73rd Amendment, it gave scope for it. It is mandatory to constitute a State Election Commission. So DPCs are not at all functioning. Every state is forming a DPC, but they are not active. They are not, strictly speaking, they are not at all functional bodies. State Finance Commission is also limping in most of the states. And the only powerful body, as we witnessed recently in Andhra Pradesh and elsewhere, the State Election Commission has become a very, very powerful body. Anyway, that is a different thing. So, as far as the rural local governments are concerned, especially to make up the resource gap, what happened after 73rd Amendment Act? I will briefly explain. See, the first Union Finance Commission after mandatorily rural governments were established was the 10th Finance Commission. In 1995, the 10th Finance Commission was appointed. In fact, in 1994, it was appointed. It was constituted. So by the time the State Finance Commissions, different states started the rural local bodies and the urban local bodies as per the 73rd Amendment and the subsequent conformity state acts, the Union Finance Commission has already started functioning. So in the terms of reference, the government of India did not give any mandate or TOR, terms of reference, to take into account the needs of rural local governments or urban local governments to the 10th Finance Commission. See, what the 73rd Amendment contains is that the Union Finance Commission should take into account the recommendations of the state finance commissions in augmenting resources for the local needs or for the local governments. That is the wording they used. But because there was no there were no recommendations available readily to the 10th Finance Commission, then the question arose whether the Finance Commission, 10th Finance Commission, can recommend any financial assistance in the form of grants and aid to rural local bodies or not. Then the 10th Finance Commission, headed by K.C. Pant, they made a judgment with a broad view that the local governments are very weak financially, and there is a requirement of, please keep the same thing, There is a requirement, financial requirement, and also the amenities requirement at the grassroots level, as well as with reference to several urban local governments also. They wanted to recommend some grants and aid to the rural local bodies and urban local bodies. First time. So they made a remarkable departure. The 10th Finance Commission made a remarkable departure by recommending some grants in aid to the rural and urban local bodies. First time they recommended almost 1,000 crores to the municipal bodies, urban local bodies, and around 4,000 crores to the rural local bodies. So they recommended almost 5,000 crores of rupees. For the first time in the Indian fiscal federalism, in the Indian rural local government history, that a finance commission, Union Finance Commission, rather the central government, made available certain resources to the local bodies, local governments. In that way, they made a departure. It is a milestone recommendation. So from 11th Finance Commission onwards, whenever a finance commission is to be, I forgot, I think you are aware of that. Under Article 280 of the Indian Constitution, every finance commission is to be set up for every 5 years, or even if earlier, if the President of India desires so. That is the wording used in the Indian Constitution. So when the 11th Finance Commission was appointed, by the time they made recommendation of grants in aid, it's not directly recommendation. I'm not speaking technically. I'm speaking in a non-technical way. Actually, the Finance Commissioner has to assess the requirement of the local governments on the basis of the recommendations of State Finance Commission's recommendations. But the State Finance Commission recommendations were not available even to the 11th Finance Commission. So please keep the same thing. Manoj Reddy, please keep the same thing, because I am doing the same thing only. Same slide. So 11th Finance Commission also recommended some grants, 2,000 for the, almost they double the grant in aid, 2,000 crores for the urban local bodies and 8,000 crores to the rural local bodies. In that way, this has been continuing in the last successive finance commissions. Every finance commission has been recommending grants in aid liberally to the local governments, whether it is rural or urban. So the 14th Finance Commission, this figure shows the 14th Finance Commission headed by Dr. Venugopal Reddy garu, YV Reddy garu. They recommended almost 2 lakh crores to the rural local governments and almost 87,000 crores to the urban local bodies. Wonderful exercise and wonderful giveaway to the local governments to strengthen their financial position. Next, please. This is the background actually. Next, please. Manoj Reddy, next. Next slide, please. Yeah. See, there are some issues regarding the distribution of the grant in aid recommended by the respective finance commissions, 10th to 14th Finance Commission or 15th Finance Commission. See, they are recommending grants in aid, or even before doing this, or at a later stage also, I can tell why the Finance Commission should at all, the Central Finance Commission should at all recommend grants in aid to the respective local governments in a respective state. It is mainly the responsibility of the state government, and it is the responsibility of the respective local governments. But the successive finance commissions felt that, see, there is a principle in fiscal federalism in public finance, government finances. The principle is known as fiscal residue. Fiscal residue means, simply to say in a non-technical way, in a non-jargonic way, the difference between the expenditure benefits and the tax payments of a citizen. See, the fiscal residue concept developed by J.M. Buchanan, a very important American economist, says, the principle says that wherever you reside in a federation, wherever the citizen resides, maybe he is a citizen of Punjab, a citizen of Andhra Pradesh, citizen of Kerala, or some other state, wherever in whichever state he resides, he or she resides, he or she is also the citizen of India. So every citizen should get a minimum national average basic amenities. That is the logic behind the recommendation of the Finance Commission grants in aid to local bodies from the point of view of their fiscal disadvantages. So once they fix a amount, they followed how to distribute among the states and how the state allotted amount is to be distributed again among the local bodies. Mainly, see, these are the factors. If you observe population, geographical area, some finance commissions follow distance from highest per capita income, and index of decentralization, index of deprivation, revenue effort, proportion of scheduled caste, scheduled tribes in population, and Finance Commission local body grants. So that means State Finance Commission local body grants, etc. They follow different criteria, but the basic factors, the main factors followed by successive finance commissions is population of a state and area, geographical area, size of the area. Why I am stressing on these two factors is, see, population and geographical area, both the factors are neutral to economic development. There's a problem when we follow this particular factor, say population or geographical area. Definitely these two factors are the factors which show the index of need. They're need factors, we can say. More the population, more is required, more financial support is required. More the area, more financial support is required, no doubt. But there are problems that have come up in the recommendations of the Finance Commissions. I will discuss them at a later stage. When the exact issue, 15th Finance Commission issue comes up, I will discuss. Please, next slide, please. So regarding the 15th Finance Commission, because what I have spoken about is only a background kind of thing. Because unless we understand that particular thing, we can't understand the remaining part, because it is totally technical, and legal aspects are also there. I think so. Coming to the 15th Finance Commission, 15th Finance Commission also was referred to this particular aspect in the TOR, terms of reference. The central government, the President of India, technically to speak, the President of India, when constituted this particular 15th Finance Commission in November 2017, he referred this item also along with other terms of reference, that to assess the needs of the respective local governments and to make recommendation in the form of grants in aid. As per the invoking the clause 275 of Article 270 of the Indian Constitution. So in terms of reference, there are constitutional provisions, and invoking the constitutional provisions, the 15th Finance Commission was asked to make recommendation. To make, well, it is up to the Finance Commission whether to recommend grant scenario, not to recommend, or to recommend what size of grant scenario and everything. But it was given the mandate to make a recommendation. So actually, the 15th Finance Commission was chaired by M.K. Singh, a former cabinet secretary. It was headed by, and 4 other members. They submitted 2 reports. One is for the year 2021 and 22, 2021 and 21-22, 2022. For the 1 year, they gave one recommendation, one report. And for the second report and major report, main report for 5 years is for the period 22-23, 21-22 to 25-26. That's what we are discussing now. And they made a total grant of almost 52,41,422 crores. See what a big amount it is, really. So for the 5-year period, both the shared tax revenue, that means a share from the tax, and the central government collects the tax, GST, there are various kinds of taxes. Central government collects taxes, and out of that, 41% is recommended for the state's purpose. And grants in aid. And it also recommended grants in aid worth of almost 10 lakh crores. It's a very big amount. 10 lakh 16,662 thousand grants in aid for all types of grants, not local government grants. I'm talking about the total grants. So it made a recommendation of a total transfer amount of 52,41,422 crores of rupees. That's why Finance Commission recommendation is very, very important to the states. And out of this, following the terms of reference, the 15th Finance Commission recommended 4,27,911 crores. I have given it in the next slide, I think. Next slide, please. Next slide. Okay, I think before that we will discuss about guiding principles. As far as the local government grants are concerned, the 15th Finance Commission followed these principles or criteria as the basis for recommending grants in aid. One is TOR, I told you, mandatory availability of accounts and audited accounts. See, every government, it has a reference to what the KCR spoke about or made a remark about grants in aid, the transfer of grants in aid recently. That is mandatory availability of accounts and audit accounts. Most of the panchayats are not maintaining accounts for the amount they are receiving or they are spending. So it made mandatory entry level. The benchmark is if a Gram Panchayat or whatever tier it is, Mandal or Jilla Parishad, if it wants to get grants in aid, Union Finance Commission grants in aid, you should clearly up to date the accounts and audited accounts. That is one important basis for which they put a condition like this thing. The other thing is inclusive and uniform approach for all types of within the RLBs. That is, you see, India has a 3-tier system. Mostly, most of the states adopted 3 tiers. That means Jilla Parishad, Mandal Parishad, and Gram Panchayat. The 14th Finance Commission has not recommended grants, I can put it, it recommended grants to Gram Panchayats. 14th Finance Commission did not recommend grants to Mandal Parishad and Jilla Parishad. Though they also do certain services, they also render some services to the rural people and rural development. But they have not recommended grants. So this commission made it a point in view of representations they received that they thought that they should give some amount of grant to the other tiers also, Mandal Parishad and Jilla Parishad also. So that is another guiding principle. The other thing is industry, rural and urban share of devolution. They made it very clearly that urban rural divide, that how to distribute the allotted amount to a particular state is also given by the Finance Commission itself. They gave a formula regarding the distribution among the rural local bodies and urban local bodies by a state government. They clearly gave a mandate, gave a formula, clear formula. Then the other important thing is the focus of national priorities related to primary health care, solid waste management, drinking water and sanitation, water recycling, rejuvenation and rainwater harvesting, and generation of internal resources. These are the important items which were focused, which were taken into consideration by the 15th Finance Commission for awarding grants and aid to the states, I mean to the rural local bodies. One is primary health care. You know, the status of primary health care in the rural areas. What is the status of health care in whichever state it is? Almost everywhere it's the same thing. You have a three-tier system. Again, the healthcare system, primary healthcare system, sub-centers, primary health center, PHCs, and community health centers, public community health centers. So they have taken into account in view of the representations and in view of the national surveys they made, and etc. etc. Similarly, solid waste management. Similarly, drinking water and sanitation. See, water is very, very important to sanitation, primary health, so everything. Water is very, very important. See, the ministry says the benchmark taken into account by the Union Finance Commission is that as per the housing department, 135 LPCD is the benchmark for urban areas, and 55 LPCD is the LPCD means liters per day, liters per capita per day consumption. 55 is the benchmark considered, and most of the states, the rural local bodies are found to be deficient. We also know about it. That's why they made recommendations for drinking water purpose and all that. They tied the grant in that way. So this is the guiding principle, or these are the important factors which they have considered while awarding the grants in aid, and that's why the guiding principles are very, very important. Next slide, please. See, this is the total grants to local governments. Grants to local governments in the sense, I have given the urban aspect also. Mainly, the total grants for rural and urban local bodies, 4,27,911, which includes both rural and urban. And the other way, you see, item B, other grants to disbursing among is 357,000 crores. And excluding given for rural bodies is 2,36,000 crores. See, another important thing, important facet of the grants to local governments awarded by 15th Finance Commission, which attracted my mind, is that a 70,000 grant exclusively, a first charged grant for upgrading health facilities in the rural and urban areas. Especially for rural areas, it's really a very, very good recommendation, I believe. Earlier Finance Commissions also gave, but the amount is the amount was very small. But this Finance Commission gave a thrust, and it should be first charged. First charged in the sense, in the state government or rural governments cannot escape spending that particular amount. So, maybe the 15th Finance Commission was guided by the prevailing pandemic situation at that time during their tenure for recommendations. That's why they have taken into account this particular thing. And see, this in the slide you can observe how much was awarded to the government of Andhra Pradesh and Telangana state. Telugu states, how much they have got. A total amount of 10,231 crores were given for rural local bodies in Andhra Pradesh. And 7,201 crores were given to Telangana rural local bodies. It's not a small amount, because we know what kind of financial assistance is being given by the state government itself. Srinivas, you have referred that 5 lakhs was promised but not given. But this is the amount which is being given, which is being directly given to the state governments, I mean local governments for different purposes. So this amount has to be spent for certain specific purposes. I will tell you another important striking recommendation of the 15th Finance Commission, which is very, very important. Here, you can observe inter-seed in this slide, inter-seed distribution of grants at B. That means the total grant, after deducting the 70,000 crore for health purpose, you have a total grant of 3,57,860 crores, which is meant for both rural and urban local bodies. And that is to be distributed. See, state was not given any choice regarding the distribution point, because if it is given, the discretionary element comes up, crops up by the respective state governments. That's why the Finance Commission itself has given the ratio of distribution. That is, in the first 2 years, the total amount for a particular state, whether Telangana or Andhra Pradesh or Uttar Pradesh, whatever it is, it should be like 67% to the rural local bodies, 33,000 for urban local bodies. First 2 years. Gradually, it reduced the amount of money given to the rural local bodies. So, it is another important factor or important recommendation made by the 15th Finance Commission, that they fixed the formula, they have themselves given the formula for inter-seed distribution of the rural local bodies and urban local bodies by a particular state government. State does not have any discretion regarding the distribution, whether some amount is to be given to a rural body or to a urban body, etc., etc. So next, please. See the percentage, how much, you know the grant, how much we got, approximately 10,000 crores to the Andhra Pradesh and 7,000 and odd to Telangana. This is the formula, this is the basis, main basis for the distribution for that particular grant. And what happened to Andhra Pradesh and Telangana? Well, a little bit of discussion. I would like to raise one important point, though I don't discuss at length. Andhra Pradesh population is 49.58 millions. And its area, geographical area is 162.92 thousand square kilometers. These are the two factors considered or taken into account by the 15th Finance Commission for deciding the state share among the total number of states, among of the total 4,27,000 crores of rupees to distribute among different states. They have followed two-factor criteria, two-factor formula, that is population and area. One is, see, this is the share of population. What is the share? What is its share in terms of Andhra Pradesh? I can tell you, I have not given, I think. See, if you take into account all the states, in all states, our Andhra Pradesh population share is 4.21%. When you consider all the states, the state of Andhra Pradesh population share among all the states is 4.21. In terms of area, it is 5.33% across all states. And with reference to Telangana, that is 35 million, that means 3.5 crores according to 2011 population. 2011 census they have taken, they have considered. I will come to that point also. Telangana share of population in all states is 2.97. I have not given it, but it is 2.97. Telangana population share across states, and its geographical area population is 3.67. So Government of Andhra Pradesh was given. Government of Andhra Pradesh are rural local bodies, urban local bodies put together in Andhra Pradesh were given 32% of the total grants awarded by the 15th Finance Commission, which comes to about 10,000 odd crores. And with regard to Telangana, it comes to about 3.04 share. Hope you got the point. So here what happened to the Telugu states? According to me, the Telugu states were put at disadvantage because of two reasons. One is they have taken population of 2011. Government of Andhra Pradesh and also Telangana also pleaded for the 15th Finance Commission to take into consideration the population of 1971 census as done by most of the earlier finance commissions. Then our share would have been more, percentage share would have been more had they taken that particular criteria. And with regard to Andhra Pradesh, Telangana also the same thing happened. Because of the population, I told you earlier, in the earlier discussion, I told you population and area are neutral factors to economic development. So they won't judge whether a Gram Panchayat in Gujarat or Andhra Pradesh are similar or not. The population is more. Suppose a Gram Panchayat in Gujarat is well off. It has more resources. In Andhra Pradesh or Telangana, it is backward. It cannot raise resources. But both were put on the same plank when population is taken into account. Because it is neutral to development. They have only taken the need factor, not the backwardness factor. This commission has not taken into account the backwardness factor for awarding grants and aid to rural local bodies or urban local bodies. So I will tell you, it is very clear, crystal clear, if you observe that how certain states got shares and what is our share vis-a-vis. So UP got 16.05% share in the total grants in aid. The total grants in aid, UP got the total local government grants of how much? 4,27,911 crores. Out of that, Uttar Pradesh government got 16.05%. Maharashtra got 9.59%. Maharashtra got 9.59%. Bihar got 8.26%. Gujarat got 5.26%. Rajasthan got 6.36%. Madhya Pradesh got 6.56%. I'm not telling you, I don't bother you by telling all the states' percentages, but I'm driving you to one important point. That is, if a state like rural local bodies in Rajasthan, rural local bodies in Bihar, UP get a higher share than us, it's all right. Because they are backward states, the Gram Panchayats are also not better than our Gram Panchayats and all that. But Gram Panchayats in Maharashtra and Gujarat, they got higher shares. They got higher share, higher amount of grants in aid compared to the Telugu, both the Telugu states. This is mainly because the Finance Commission followed a two-factor criteria, that is population, 90% weightage was given to population and 10% weightage given to geographical area. And suppose the Finance Commission, suppose it would have given more weightage to geographical area also, we would have got more percentage of grants in aid in the total grants in aid. Because the we have a better share as far as the geographical area is concerned. But that was not given. More weightage was given to population and less weightage was given to geographical population. So in that way, both the two Telugu state rural local bodies were relatively put to disadvantage. That I can, it's only an observation. It may not be a complaint or something like that, because a finance commission's grants in aid is an award. You can't make a complaint or something like that. So next slide, please. This is only an observation made by me. So then intra-tier distribution. So this, I told you just now in the earlier analysis that this finance commission has chosen to distribute some amount of grant in aid to the upper two tiers of local bodies, that is Mandal Parishad and also Jilla Parishad. The 14th Finance Commission deprived, in a way, we also argued in one of the meetings held at Chennai. We requested, or maybe Reddy Garu also, chairman, but they denied a share because there were some problems when they see the contention of the 14th Finance Commission is Gram Panchayat is the main tier of government, which provides basic amenities to the rural people, not Gram Panchayat, Jilla Parishad or at block level, Mandal level. Because earlier there were some problems when grants were given to Jilla Parishad, they built guest houses, quarters, etc., etc. Not for, they didn't use it for creating or promoting or developing amenities. That's why they cut it. But this finance commission was good enough because the states as well as the stakeholders, different stakeholders requested the commission to give some share, some amount of money to the Mandal Parishad and District Panchayat, and they put a maximum and minimum like this. They have given more weightage to Gram Panchayat. The rupee, a major part of the resource, should be spent by the Gram Panchayat for the benefit of the people living in the rural area or in that particular Panchayat jurisdiction. So this is why this is the formula they clearly stated. Minimum Gram Panchayat should be given 70%, and a maximum with a maximum of 85%. That means if a state wants to give more to Gram Panchayat, say 85%, the remaining 15% should be distributed between the block Panchayat and district Panchayat. In that way, I think nothing more to say about it. The only thing the Jilla Parishad chairpersons and Mandal Parishad chairpersons are happy that they have some money to spend, to especially mainly for O&M operations are meant done by Jilla Parishad and block level at Mandal level. For example, maintenance part, road maintenance or drinking water pipes maintenance, etc. They undertake. So they need money, and they are not the two. They are not. See, out of the three tiers, only the Gram Panchayat can levy some tax. The taxing authority is only Gram Panchayat. At the state level, the CM is the taxing authority, and at Gram Panchayat, only the Sarpanch or Gram President is the taxing authority. Not in between, nobody else. So in that way, Gram Panchayat can have some resources, but the other two levels may not have some resource, unless that is the reason why they pleaded with the Finance Commission to give some part of the grant in aid. In that way, they made a positive recommendation. Next slide, please. I think time is running. So the other important recommendation, as I told you earlier, is they made excellent recommendation for the development of health, to develop the primary healthcare facilities. We know the status of healthcare in the villages, or even in municipalities also, we know the position. And they observed that there is a, from the point of view of one survey, according to one survey of the central government itself, there is a deficiency of 18%. In 2018, there was a survey. They conducted one survey. There is a deficiency of 18% at the sub-centers level, 22% at the primary healthcare health centers, PHCs, and at 30% at the community health centers level. See, I'm not speaking about the total facilities, but there is an acute shortage, or there is no absence of, there is an absence of or acute shortage of diagnostic facilities. So this, they recommended 70,000 crores of rupees for the period of 5 years to almost all the states without an exception for the development of diagnostic facilities at the Gram Panchayat or at sub-center level, sub-center and at the 3 levels also. The 3 levels also, they have made it very clear. So AP got about 2,000 crores of rupees. It's a very good amount. I think it's a good amount as far as my knowledge goes. You see, in the 21-22, it got 490 crores of rupees for the development of diagnostic facilities. See, whatever the state government is giving, a major part is going for salaries, salary part only, not for, there are no consumables at the sub-center or primary health centers, or diagnostic facilities are also not there. So the rural people have to reach urban or semi-urban areas for getting tested and all that. So they observed the deficiency and they made a recommendation. This is one of the important recommendations as far as my knowledge goes, that we got, both Telugu states got this kind of grant, 490 crores, to a total of 2,601 crore for the 5-year period by Andhra Pradesh, and to Telangana, 2,228 crores they got. And all states distribution is like this. This is a wonderful, I think, arrangement made by the 15th Finance Commission. I think next slide, please. Next slide. In discussion, we can discuss. And the Finance Commission, in fact, some of these things are source of discussion or observation you can also make. See, grants right from 10th Finance Commission onwards, especially 10th and 11th Finance Commission grants, were, I can't say misuse, but they were diverted by several state governments. Sometimes states are resorting to diverting the grants in aid amount meant for the rural local bodies or urban local bodies. That's why they put some conditions, let me say certain conditionalities for the release of the grant. One is the grant, of course, this is not the first time. The 12th Finance Commission itself put a condition like this. The grant amount, whatever it is, it should be released twice a year. Earlier, the central government also did not release the grant on time. Only in the, after December, they used to release the grant amount meant for rural local bodies and urban local bodies. Say December, January, February, March rush. So whether it is spent or unspent or misused or used or something like. So in order to curtail those problems, the 12th Finance Commission for the first time, I think, no, not the 12th Finance Commission, it is the 14th Finance Commission. It puts this particular condition. It should be the central government should release the grant amount twice a year. They specified the months also, June and October. And 15th Finance Commission continued the same thing. So central government cannot escape the release of the grant in aid. It's a wonderful recommendation. And this commission put entry-level benchmarks are to be met. What are the entry-level benchmarks? The first major, as far as the rural local bodies are concerned. For urban local bodies, they put more conditions, a little bit difficult conditions also. But at the, as far as the rural local bodies are concerned, the entry-level benchmarks are mainly with reference to submission of audited accounts and audited accounts. They put a condition that if the Gram Panchayat wants to have this particular grant amount for 21-22, they have to first submit the accounts for 2021 and put it in the public domain. Regarding the accounts, you know, revenue and expenditure, whatever it is. And they have to complete the audited amount, audited accounts of 1920 audited accounts, 2021 accounts are to be put in the public domain. That is the entry level. That's the only check. That is the only condition, important condition, or what you call eligibility criteria for getting the grants in aid. Why? Because several Gram Panchayats are not maintaining proper accounts. Actually, the 11th Finance Commission gave 200 crores of rupees for the development of infrastructure for maintaining accounts to all the state governments, to rural level, rural at the rural area and urban areas as a first charge. That also at the first charge. So the state governments have to necessarily give that amount for the development. Several gram panchayats are given computers and other things. They have digitalized certain things in both the Telugu states, I believe, because as a member of Finance Commission, I toured certain areas in Telangana also. I visited certain gram panchayats which were very good in Telangana also. They are maintaining accounts. That's why when you go into details of across states, our states are better compared to several other states, especially northern states, in getting the grant amount and spending the grant amount. Both Andhra Pradesh and Telangana also. See, for example, Tellapur in Sangareddy district, that was the best panchayat, gram panchayat in 2018, best in India. Best in India. It was adjudged as the best village in 2018 in Telangana. Tellapur, మీకు తెలిసే ఉంటుందండి, Tellapur. So
Yes,
what
sir,
I'm
yes,
saying is, most of the gram panchayats are maintaining the accounts, but there are a good number of gram panchayats and rural and urban local bodies which are not maintaining proper accounts. So they put a entry level benchmark of submitting the accounts for the immediate year and audited accounts of the previous of the 1 year before the previous year. So in that way, that is the one condition. The other important thing is, see, earlier when the central government released the grant, several state governments used to divert the grants. They used to keep the amount with themselves. They didn't release the grant in it. So the 14th Finance Commission put that particular condition, that the same condition is being maintained by the 15th Commission, that after receiving the grant in aid amount, within 10 days, 10 working days, the amount is to be given to the amount is to be passed on to the respective bank accounts or panchayat accounts or gram panchayat or urban local bodies, whatever it is, by the state government. You may say that suppose a state government diverted, didn't follow the rule, then what is to be done? You know, what excellent recommendation was made by the 15th Commission, or let me say it was continued by the recommendation of the 14th Finance Commission. If there is a delay, the state government has to pay interest as a penalty. Along with interest is also what kind of interest? It should be a rate of interest on market borrowings the state has borrowed for development, state development loans. A very stringent condition was put by the Central Finance Commission for the release of the grant on the part of the state government. That shows the spirit of the Union Finance Commission, that the amount released by the central government or the award of grants in aid should be reached to the local bodies or rural or urban local bodies. That is an important condition put by the Finance Commission. No additional, and one more thing is, whatever conditions they put, see, earlier Finance Commission puts a lot of conditions. In addition to the Finance Commission conditions, several state governments and also the department, Panchayati Raj department, central government used to put some more conditions, where the governments cannot use the grants in aid. They cannot use the grants in aid. They cannot utilize the grants in aid because of the additional conditions put by the central and state governments. So they put a condition that no additional conditions or constraints should be imposed by the respective state governments. So these are the conditions put by the Finance Commission, 15th Finance Commission. Wonderful recommendation, good recommendations. Next slide, please. Next slide. Next slide. And so these are some of the important recommendations made by the respective state governments Finance Commission. And what are the major issues that we can discuss? Because already it is 7, so I want to be brief and so that we can spend some time for discussion. If at all. See, important issues as far as the recommendations of the grants in aid, which have been continuing right from the 10th Finance Commission onwards, and mandatorily from the 11th Finance Commission until the 15th Finance Commission. Every Finance Commission found a big gap between the resources and services. In the rural areas, especially at Panchayat level, the basic services, whatever you take the drinking water supply. Today, one observation made by the Drinking Water Department, Housing and Drinking Water is that even today, only 16% of the rural households got piped water supply. That means 84% of the households are out of the piped water supply, potable water, drinking water. And there are sanitation issues. There are lighting issues, especially we are better than several northern states. I visited some Gram Panchayats in northern states also. They don't have electricity also. In most of the villages, we don't have that problem. We have electricity, we have street lights, etc. Which is a basic need. Sanitation is a basic need. And ODF, open defecation also. See, in 2017-18, there was one study where even though much a kind of effort was made by a particular program was started by the central government. What is that program was known as? I'll tell you that program. Central Rural Sanitation Program. Central Rural Sanitation Program was started in 1986, but not much headway was made. Only after 2014, a lot of things happened. In fact, in 2014, under the Swachh Bharat mission, it was proposed to construct almost 2 lakh what do you call individual sanitary latrines, ISL, individual sanitary latrines. Of course, there are several issues with regard to those things. I know. So there is a gap, very big gap between the rural amenities and the rural government resources. Rural governments, there are 2 important issues. One is they are not willing to raise resources. That is one aspect. The rural local governments, rural local bodies are not willing to raise the resources. That is one aspect. The other thing is the scope of raising of resources is also limited. So from that point of view, there is a wide gap between the rural service requirement and resource mobilization. There is one important issue which was recognized by the central government, also the union government. There was big debate when the 10th Finance Commission for the first time wanted to recommend some grants in aid, 5,000 crores of rupees to the local governments in the parliament. There was a big debate whether that amount is to be given or not. So the central government accepted that recommendation. So that is one important issue. The other important is while giving grants in aid, no doubt there is almost a doubling of the total amount of grants in aid for every 5 years. If you observe the data, the slide I have shown, the total amount of grants in aid to rural and urban local bodies, there is almost the amount is doubled. And only in the last 2 commissions, it was the growth was much higher. But the finance commissions are putting certain conditions. And also besides the finance commission conditions, the central government department, Panchayat Raj department, urban ministries, and also the state government themselves are putting a lot of conditions. Maybe in order to avoid pilferage, in order to avoid leakage at the grassroots level, they are putting so many conditions in such a way that they are unable to utilize the grants. Every rupee that is recommended by the finance company is very, very important in the rural area, because there are panchayats I visited in certain backward districts, like in Andhra Pradesh, Anantapur. One Sarpanch told me some 15 years back, one Sarpanch told me that they don't have money even to conduct a meeting to find to meet expenditure to distribute some snacks and tea. He told that is the plight of the because the resources are very small and the resources are not timely released. There is number of conditions, number of constraints. So that is the reason why I will show you one important thing. The Finance Commission grants are also not totally utilized. There is చూడండి ఇక్కడ లింక్ ఒకటి ఉంది, అది లింక్ రావట్లేదే. ఇది ఈ స్లైడ్ లో లింక్ ఉంది చూడండి, గ్రాంట్స్ రికమెండెడ్ వర్సెస్ యాక్చువల్.
మనోజ్
ఇందులో లింక్ ఉంది, లింక్ ఇచ్చాను.
ఆ లింక్ క్లిక్ చేయండి,
లింక్ క్లిక్ చేయండి, నాకు అవ్వట్లేదు.
మనోజ్ మీరు కాదు సార్, ఆయనకి అవుతుంది, మనోజ్కి అవుతుంది.
ఇక్కడ లింక్ ఉందండి, గ్రాంట్స్.
మనోజ్
గ్రాంట్స్
రికమెండెడ్ అనే దగ్గర అక్కడ క్లిక్ చేయి, దాని మీద క్లిక్ చేయి. మనోజ్
వచ్చిందండి?
లేదు,
రాలేదా? ఓకే, ఇట్స్ ఆల్ రైట్.
Manoj,
I will put it. I will summarize that particular aspect. That is, when we go into details data regarding the utilization of the grants in aid recommended by the Union Finance Commission by both the rural and urban governments.
Not that. Go to the next slide.
There is a gap of almost 5 to 18%. 5 to 18% of the grant amount is not okay. Sorry, 5 to 18% of the grant amount is not being utilized by the respective governments.
Go back, Manoj.
Go back. Go back to the earlier. So that is one important reason, because of the conditions, too many conditions put by the same finance commissions, and also especially with reference to, I will tell you one important condition. By 15th Finance Commission also, for urban local grants, I mean grants made for urban local governments, municipal bodies, they put a important condition that every local body, urban local body, municipal government, Nagar Panchayat and municipal government should satisfy one condition, that is they should increase the house tax. There should be a minimum floor tax. That is one condition put by them. So because of such conditions, the grant amount is not being utilized by the governments. That is one important issue. And the other one is states. Some states, not I don't say that the Telugu states. Telugu states are better than compared to other states, but several states are they are diverting the funds. They are not releasing. They are delaying or diverting the funds meant for rural and urban local bodies. And the other important thing is lack of freedom to the rural local bodies for spending on felt needs. See, the 15th Finance Commission also recommended that 60% of the grant in aid to be spent on certain purposes like drinking water, water conservation and sanitation, etc. Suppose in a Gram Panchayat, drinking water is not an issue because there is drinking water. Every house has a piped water facility. There is no drinking water. It's not scarce. So there should be freedom to the Gram Panchayat or Gram Sabha to utilize the fund. It is not like that. This time the 15th Finance Commission, that is also a good recommendation. They recommended that 40% of the grant as untied grant. That means for every 100 rupees, 40 rupees can be spent by the Gram Sarpanch according to his priorities as approved by the respective Gram Sabha. That's a wonderful recommendation. 60% is tied grant. I think I missed it somewhere. And the other thing is a timely constitution of SFCs. State finance commissions are not being constituted. Telangana, I think it's not constituted. Andhra Pradesh is better than Telangana. In Andhra Pradesh, I was the fourth member of 4th State Finance Commission. Government is constituted 5th also. but further it has not constituted. But I think in Telangana, I don't know exact status, but my friends told me that because there are aspirants also to become members, because we are from economics professors are likely to, even though there is no conditionality as per the constitutional provisions. But some of them told me that it's not constituted in Telangana. And so every state should constitute the State Finance Commission timely for every 5 years, and so that the State Finance Commission can assess the needs of Gram Panchayats, what really the Gram Panchayat needs, what kind of resources, for what purposes, etc., etc. And that should be a source for the Union Finance Commission. But the 15th Finance Commission also, they lamented that they also could not get any recommendations from any government, any State Finance Commission from any state, because State Finance Commissions are not constituted timely by the state governments, because some administrators, they think that State Finance Commission is a sixth finger. You know the meaning of sixth finger. Sixth finger, it's not of any use. So I know, I don't want to quote any name. I know some IAS officer made a observation regarding the constitution of a State Finance Commission in some state. So they feel that it is not very useful. Things go on moving like that. But 15th Finance Commission put a condition that unless every state constitute a State Finance Commission by 2024, they will not be given the grant in aid meant for the rural local bodies and urban local bodies for the financial year 24, 25 and 25, 26. So I think now the state governments will constitute definitely some kind of, State Finance Commission. I don't know what kind of decision the states will take, but most of the states, not the Telugu states, but several states are not taking much interest in constituting the State Finance Commissions. So the other important aspect is effective devolution of FFs, 3 Fs. They are popularly the parlance, they're known as 3 Fs. That means functions, functionaries, functions, funds and functionaries. 3 Fs means functions, functionaries and funds, or funds and functionaries, you can say. See, when the 73rd and 74th amendments were made, the constitution was appended 2 schedules additionally, 11th schedule and 12th schedule. In the 11th schedule, 29 subjects were identified by the constitution, which are to be given to which are to be devolved, that is the right word, devolved to the respective local bodies. And in the 12th schedule, 12 subjects were identified by the constitution under 74th amendment, which are to be devolved to the urban governments. So it was, the freedom was given. That is, in fact, there is a, I don't say defect, but it's a gap. It's a gap, or it gives scope or flexibility to the respective state governments. By that, using that word, that a state, it is left to the state government, respective state governments, whether to devolve all 29 functions or whatever number of functions it can give to the rural local bodies. And similarly, all 18 functions can be given to the urban local bodies or any number of functions. See, for example, in Andhra Pradesh, as a member, we made observation in the reports also we have written, some 10 functions were identified, but GOs were issued only for 6. But those 6 also, with regard to those 6 also, these 3 Fs are not satisfied. అంటే ఏంటంటే మనం తెలుగులో సామెత చెప్తాం, పంచపాండవులు మంచము కోళ్ళ వల్లే 3 అని చూపించి రాసేటప్పుడు 2 అలా చెప్తారు కదా. అలా the governments are not taking it seriously, even though the respective state governments made recommendations regarding the devolution of certain subjects exclusively to the respective state local bodies or urban local bodies or rural local bodies mandatorily, along with the functionaries. Suppose primary education is to be devolved, along with primary education, the functionaries also should be given administrative machinery. Otherwise, they cannot do it. They can't monitor, they can't exercise that particular power. Similarly, funds, whatever that is recommended, what is required by the panchayat to run those primary schools, the funds are to be devolved. So in most of the states, still I say Andhra Pradesh and the Telugu states are better in that aspect. Telugu, Karnataka and West Bengal, Kerala, the West. So some states are better in devolution of function, these three Fs, but several states are not doing it effectively or sincerely, let me say. And so this is very, very important. Actual decentralization takes place when these three Fs are strictly, sincerely happen with regard to the devolution of functions as included or specified in the 11th and 12th schedules. 11th for rural local bodies and 12th for urban local bodies. 29 functions for rural local bodies and 18 functions for urban local bodies. In some states, even the central government took some initiative. They organized certain workshops and all that regarding the mapping of certain functions cannot be devolved for some reasons. It doesn't matter. But the functions which the Gram Panchayat or at Mandal level or Jilla Parishad level, which can be discharged efficiently, effectively, they should be given to the rural local bodies. That kind of thing is very, very important. So I think the link is provided here. Too many conditions. No, it's not coming. I don't know why. So the other one is, see, the other consideration is all this effort, the very spirit of 73rd Amendment or 74th Amendment, mainly the 73rd Amendment, is to enhance the rural well-being of the rural people. In fact, as pointed out by Srinivas Garu in the beginning, in his opening remarks, in the earlier, actually it's not 73rd, 74th amendments. The amendment, the number is much earlier, 64th or 65 or something, because there was a lot of lag, almost a 10-year lag or so. Not 10 years, but at least 5 years lag. So because of that lag, the amendment number has emerged as 73rd and 74th. There was a lot of discussion whether to give grants directly to the Gram Panchayat or rural local governments. Several people objected mainly because of the apprehension that the funds, the scarce funds, the scarce resources may be misutilized, or there will be, it leads to pilferage. That may be one reason. Or at that time, the rural local bodies especially were unable to or did not have the necessary infrastructure to maintain accounts and all that. Now they are better. They are connected to computers, they are connected. There's a lot of digitalization process going on. Now they are better, definitely better. So that may be one reason why they wanted to. So the very idea is to enhance the rural well-being. So let every effort be there to release the amounts recommended by the successive finance commissions or the 15th finance commission timely by the central government, and let there be a timely onward transfer of the same amount to the respective local governments by the state government. And ultimately, let it be spent for the purpose for which it is meant. In turn, the rural well-being will be enhanced. So with these few observations, I think I will close my presentation. And no doubt there are several constraints. I told you in the beginning itself, because the subject is very vast and technical also. I try to make it as non-technical as possible. And any questions or discussion is welcome. Thank you very much.
థ్యాంక్ యూ సార్, థ్యాంక్ యూ. సుమారుగా 1:20 నిమిషాల సమయం పాటు.
ఐఎమ్ సారీ అండి, కొంచెం టైం ఎక్సీడ్ అయినట్టున్నాను.
నో ప్రాబ్లం సార్, నో ప్రాబ్లం సార్. 1:20 నిమిషాల సమయం పాటు.
No, that's why I limited to rural local body. I divided it. If we combine it, it takes much time.
ఓకే సార్, నో ప్రాబ్లం సార్. 15వ ఆర్థిక సంఘం గ్రామీణ స్థానిక సంస్థలకు సహాయ నిధులు అనేటువంటి అంశం మీద ప్రొఫెసర్ రొక్కం సుదర్శన్ రావు గారు చాలా అద్భుతమైనటువంటి లోతైనటువంటి విశ్లేషణ చేశారు. ప్రధానంగా వారు కేవలం ఆ యొక్క ఆర్థిక సంఘానికి సంబంధించి ఆర్థిక సంఘం యొక్క పరిమితులను దృష్టిలో పెట్టుకొని, కేంద్ర రాష్ట్ర ప్రభుత్వాలను బేస్ చేసుకొని దృష్టిలో పెట్టుకొని, కేవలం ఆ సంఘము ఎలా నిధులు మంజూరు చేస్తుంది, ఏ రకంగా వాటికి ఉండేటువంటి రూల్స్ రెగ్యులేషన్స్ వేటిని ఆధారంగా చేసుకొని నిధులను మంజూరు చేస్తుంది అనే విషయాన్ని చాలా స్పష్టంగా చెప్పారు. ప్రధానంగా వారు ఈ రాష్ట్ర జనాభాను, తర్వాత రాష్ట్రం యొక్క భూ వైశాల్యం చూసి కూడా నిధులు మంజూరు చేయడం అనేటువంటి ప్రధానంగా జరుగుతుంది. అందులో భాగంగా 2011వ సంవత్సరంలో జనాభా లెక్కల ప్రకారం తెలంగాణ జనాభా 3.5 కోట్లు కాగా, ఆంధ్రప్రదేశ్ జనాభా 5 కోట్లు జనాభాగా ఇంచుమించు ఉంది అనేటువంటి విషయాన్ని చాలా స్పష్టంగా చెప్పడం అనేటువంటి జరిగింది. అదే విధంగా దేశం లోపల ఉత్తరప్రదేశ్ రాష్ట్రానికి ఆర్థిక సంఘం ఎక్కువ జరిగిందంటే వైశాల్యం రాష్ట్రం కూడా ఉత్తరప్రదేశ్ అనేటువంటి విషయాన్ని చాలా స్పష్టంగా తెలుపుతూనే వారు కేంద్ర ప్రభుత్వం మంజూరు చేసినటువంటి నిధులు ఏవైతే రాష్ట్ర ప్రభుత్వాలకు ఉంటాయో, ముఖ్యంగా 10 దినాల లోపల 10 పని దినాలు ఏవైతే ఉంటాయో వర్కింగ్ డేస్ లోపల గ్రామ పంచాయతీ బ్యాంకులకు వేయాలని చెప్పేసి చాలా స్పష్టంగా వారు తెలియజెప్పారు. ముఖ్యంగా ఇంకో విషయం వారు చాలా సరదాగానే మాట్లాడుతూ, రాష్ట్ర ప్రభుత్వాలు అనేటువంటిది స్టేట్ ఫైనాన్స్ కమిషన్ ను ఒక సిక్స్త్ ఫింగర్ గా వారు భావిస్తున్నారనేటువంటి విషయాన్ని కూడా చాలా స్పష్టంగా తెలియజెప్పారు. వారికి మా తెలంగాణ జనవేదిక తరఫున ప్రత్యేకమైనటువంటి ధన్యవాదాలు సార్. ఇప్పుడు ఏమైనా మిత్రులు ఎవరైనా మీకు డౌట్స్ కానీ ప్రశ్నలు కానీ ఉంటే
ప్రొఫెసర్ పడయ్య గారు.
సార్ అదేం లేదు సార్, ఆయన మేమంతా బాగా ఫ్రెండ్స్, మాకు సీనియర్ అండి. ఆయన మేము అడిగేది ఏం లేదండి. థ్యాంక్ యూ అంటే ఇప్పుడు ఆ సుదర్శన్ రావు గారిని ఇవాళ నేను ప్రత్యేకంగా
థ్యాంక్ యూ పదయ్య గారు.
ప్రొఫెసర్ చౌదరి
ప్రొఫెసర్ చౌదరి గారు, ప్రొఫెసర్ విష్ణు చరణ్ చౌదరి సార్, అన్మ్యూట్ యువర్ సెల్ఫ్ సార్.
But it is too late.
It's okay, sir. You please continue, sir. Professor, sir.
Sir, Vishnu, sir, please.
Please unmute yourself.
10 minutes. 10 నిమిషాలు దొరుకుతుందా? 10 నిమిషాలు.
Okay.
I congratulate the Telangana Jana Vedika, which I am attending very regularly for organizing such webinars, and I am very happy that a seasoned professor and a good researcher, Professor Rao, has presented his topic very well. He was presenting in a very lucid manner. There is no confusion at all. But let me put in this connection few points for your consideration. Professor Rao has referred to 3 F's, but actually it is now being explained in terms of 4 F's. One, freedom is added. Freedom, funds, functions, functionaries. And it was actually Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru who talked about organizing this Panchayati Raj, and it was Mr. S.K. Dev, who was Community Development Minister in the Nehru cabinet. He said the entire credit must go to Jawaharlal.
Sir, there is a problem. Your mic, sir, please. Vishnu sir.
Chaudhary sir, we lost you. I think yes, there may be some power outage. There are a lot of I see a lot of Gram Panchayat level leaders here. If anybody has any questions,
Yeah.
you can ask them. Ask the professor.
Dr. Anjan Rao garu. Dr. Anjan Rao.
Parmeshwar Rao Kondapalli.
Yeah. Vasiredi Krishna Rao. Dr. Vasiredi Krishna Rao.
Satish Kimadi is also a Sudhakar Veldandi.
Yeah.
All of them are from Panchayat Raj.
Yeah.
Actually, they are presidents of panchayats. Yeah, Vishnu sir has come. Yes. Sir.
So there are some connective problems. So Gandhiji visualized a 4-pillar governance system: village, district, and state center. I'm not going to details of what Gandhiji talked about, but I will straight come to the process of democratization or importance of the Panchayat Raj bodies. Take for example, we have a federal structure. Earlier it was 2-tier, center and the state, and now after the 73rd Amendment and the 74th Amendment, it has become a 3rd-tier. Nirmal Mukherjee, who was a cabinet secretary and former governor of Punjab, he profusely wrote on federalism and decentralization. He gave concept 3rd stratum. Like we talk about 3rd tier, he said 3rd tier. So we have the ambitions of having these bodies as for efficiency, for effectiveness, for equity, for promoting good governance, for democratization of the rural government, for participatory democracy, and we visualize these bodies as nursery of future state and national leaders. We always say that if good people will come to the rural local government, to the Panchayat Raj bodies, ultimately we will have good governance in the country. So these bodies have also acted to empower women, the scheduled caste and scheduled tribe. It has provided gender equality, and it has also provided the platform to learn something. I'm not going to deal with that. So what are the problems that is being encountered in the functioning of the PRIs? I will be very brief. You know, the first problem is lack of political will. Whoever is in the government at the state level, they don't have political will to part power. I have already told you once that we demand autonomy, but autonomy not below me. That has been the spirit. The state governments want autonomy. But when the PRIs want autonomy, the state governments are not prepared across the country. Second is bureaucratic apathy. Third is funds crunch, and Professor Rao has given a detail. And you know, till today, we have low participation of elected representative Gram Panchayat bodies. So in spite of all the changes that have come, I would like to conclude with the following suggestions. In spite of the fact that we have corruption and PRI bodies have become cesspool of corruption, there are certain suggestions to make these PRIs very effective. What are the suggestions? Issues of governance cannot be addressed only by the formal structure referring to democracy. These must be accompanied by work at the grassroots level so that the poor develop the confidence or articulate their concerns and make their voices heard in the corridors of power. Number 2, emphasis should be on good governance, government that is transparent, honest, and people-friendly. In the administrative system, rigidity, complexity, and over-centralization have rendered even the best schemes ineffective and wayward. It is imperative that this system would change to be flexible with decentralization of authority structure. In order to make the PRIs effective, people's participation in the grassroots level should be enhanced, and the grassroots level administration should be the beginning point of the process of development. The state, the civil society, the media, the political parties have prominent role to play in facilitating the proper functioning of the PRIs. The PRIs should work for empowerment of women, the scheduled caste, and the scheduled tribes. There is a need to restructure and strengthen the PRIs through appropriate training to make so that the optimum use of human resources can be made in the grassroots level. In order to ensure a comprehensive rural development, there is a need to promote inclusive growth by identifying the deprived people. The PRIs must have these four functions as have been outlined by Professor Rao. And to make the local rural development programs successful, there is a need for a change in the planning process. The planning must be from below, and it should not be imposed from above. If the planning is from below, there is a greater possibility of taking into account the ground realities in the context of rural development. The bureaucracy working in the grassroots level must have the commitment and necessary psyche to make the PRIs function effectively and efficiently. There is a need for change in the mindset of those associated with the PRIs to ensure that there is a real devolution and decentralization of power. Ultimately, power should be shared and exercised by the people at the grassroots. The functionaries of the PRIs must be given proper training to handle responsible positions at the different levels of the PRI bodies or PRI hierarchy. Adequate government funds must be made available to PRIs to implement the different schemes and programs of the rural development. And to plan and execute the rural development program, the technical experts shall have to be made available to the PRI bodies. There is a need for having a separate All India cadre of rural administrators who should be mandated only with the task of executing and monitoring the task of rural development. They can be recruited through the Union Public Service Commission as another All India cadre by providing it in this constitution. Similarly, allied rural services like rural agriculture service, rural medical service, rural revenue service, rural finance and account service, etc. can be introduced to work in the PRIs. At the Panchayat Samiti level, there must be a clear-cut separation of development and non-development activities. The Panchayat Raj institutions must be strengthened so as to promote convergence activities. For example, the flagship programs of the Government of India as well as the state government concerned should be implemented simultaneously in the rural development sector so as to ensure a balanced development of rural areas. Resources have to be mobilized for implementation of different rural development programs. Thus, the resource mobilization agency must be instituted to find out the ways and means with regard to resource mobilization. The need of the hour is to ensure genuine devolution of power for realizing a vision of Gram Swaraj of the father of the nation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you, Professor Chaudhary, sir.
Parmeshwar Rao Kondapalli is unmuted himself. Maybe he wants to ask a question. Yeah, Parmeshwar Rao garu.
Hello.
Yeah, please.
Hello.
Yeah, go ahead, sir. Please go ahead.
Hello.
Hello. మీరు వినొస్తున్నారండి, మాట్లాడండి.
Excellent webinar arrangement, sir. Is a contemporary importance of the subject, and it is a great injustice to our states in allocation of funds he highlighted, and in general he compared about the professors are compared about the other states finances also. Everyone is interested in to develop the local bodies. Hence, there is we need to provide more finance to local bodies, sir. It's a thought-provoking lecture by Professor Susan Nagaru. I congratulate you, sir, for arranging a very contemporary importance of the subject, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
James.
Thank you.
James.
Thank you so much, Professor Rao. It was a very fascinating talk. the very few people understand the complexity of administration and how funds are distributed, especially. And so you have given us an in-depth view, again, actually a great panoramic view of how these issues are dealt with. And one more thing, sir, as you have been saying in your talk, that there was a debate on whether the village systems should be called local bodies or government bodies. And so basically, whether they are local bodies or government bodies, they should be uh, formulated in the democratic method, the only democratic way. I am a little I was wondering, but since the finance commissions at the central level have been saying that there were not much inputs from the state levels, and so it means that there's not much input from the village levels either. And in this context, when there is not much input from the micro level, and lot of the decision making is being done at the macro level. One aspect is that there are issues of democratic function at one end, and there is also at the village level, if there is discussion, and if we have to, and the state level and the central level are not listening to what exactly these people want, and they're parachuting whatever grants, and they're deciding what they want, and not understanding what exactly is needed. So there is a huge disparity here. This is just a comment I'm trying to make. I hope I think this is an issue that should be really addressed. So thank you so much, Professor Roy. It was a really wonderful session, and we enjoyed it a lot. Thank you for delivering a very complex issue, and as you said, you have made it understandable for lay people like us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, James. Thank you. Yeah.
Manoj.
Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Professor Sudarshan Rao Garu, for giving us your valuable time today and a wonderful talk, sir. And alage first ma Guru garu Purushottam Rao garu namaskaralu telupukuntu. Very wonderful discussion today. And sir, a small doubt from my side. Why this sort of clutches are being made by the central government on the states, especially on our state, Telangana? Why the people are so much, central government is so much directly they want to get connected to the rural bodies and all that. Why is that? What's happening, sir, around? I want to know, as economist, to please, I want some clarification regarding that, sir.
It has to unmute.
Okay, Nandi?
Yes, sir, please.
Yeah, okay, sir.
First, I would like to say that there are wonderful observations by participants, really academic and no less than any other expert. Like, where is from Vishnu Charanji? Vishnu Charan Chaudhary. You are from?
He's from Orissa.
Odisha, sir.
Orissa, which place?
Rempo.
Because I in one of the conferences, I gave the keynote address, the Orissa Economic Association in Gunpur. Whether we met or not, I would like to know, because I have good number of friends in Orissa. Almost all the universities I visited. Anyway, I would like to, before answering a very relevant and contemporary question, contemporary relevant question. I told you that there is no masala in this topic. There is no excitement when Manoj Reddy asked me to speak about some contemporary issue and all that. But now, after we fixed the topic, I think some masala was added that the central government started directly sending, channeling the grants to the respective local governments. I don't know. I heard only yesterday that the grants are being given directly to the local bodies. I have to verify, but now you are telling that they are given directly, isn't it, Manoj Reddy? Before telling my own opinion, I would like to make one or two important observations regarding the Finance Commission and its grants. In the beginning, I told you the Finance Commission, Central Finance Commission, so role is very, very limited. It is not confined to the entire budget of the state governments. Though, because right from 1950 onwards, 51 onwards, every state is getting some kind of assistance or not. In the constitution itself, while with regard to grants in aid, under Article 275, the constitution, the provision says that it is the responsibility of the Finance Commission to assess the budgetary needs of the state governments. They didn't specify which account, which kind of needs and all that. Simply the wording is the Finance Commission is required to assess the budgetary needs of the state governments. And wherever there is a gap, and the Finance Commission is expected to recommend grants in aid under Article 275, Provision 1. But we don't know the reason, because we cannot verify with the chairman or members of the first Finance Commission. After going through, that was headed by Niyogi, KC Niyogi, a legal expert. They confined themselves only to the non-plan account of the non-plan revenue account of the budget. See, budget has two parts, revenue and capital. And again, you can divide them, revenue, capital, revenue and capital, plan and non-plan. But we don't know the reason why the Indian Finance Commission confined itself only to the non-plan revenue component of the state government budgets. That means it itself narrowed a small part of the total budget. And from then onwards, every Finance Commission has been doing the same thing, successive Finance Commissions. Only after the 8th Finance Commission, there was a change in their approach, that let us take the total needs, 8th, 9th, 10th, and onwards. And another important aspect I would like to tell you is, because in the course of discussion, even Dr. Chaudhary also referred to that particular aspect. The Union Finance Commission is nothing to do with making any grants in aid for plan purposes, development purposes, either in the case of state or in the case of local bodies. See, all the grants are meant for only for developing and maintenance of amenities, basic amenities, which they feel that they are very important, or which they feel that there is a lot of gap between the benchmark level and our national average and the requirement, etc., etc. So we cannot expect that the Finance Commission should do everything. And that too, the entire credit goes to the 73rd Amendment. I don't want to drop the names, but definitely Rajiv Gandhi was the person who initiated in the for the first time that just like in USA and other places, in some of the European countries, European federations, let us contribute something to the rural governments at the lower level, urban or rural level, especially rural governments. With that intention, the 73rd, the amendments made to the Constitution. At that time also, there were parliamentary debates. At that time also, it was debated whether the central government after the recommendation of the Finance Commission, whether the central government can directly channel the funds to the governments at the grassroots level. There was also, so they, because you see, starting మనం అంటాం కదా, పిల్లిని పాలు తాగించేటప్పుడు వేడి పాలు పెట్టకూడదు ముందు అని చెప్తాం, ముందు పాలు తాగడమే మానేస్తుంది అది. అందుకని ఏం చేశారంటే దే మోడరేటెడ్ in the parliament debates, they moderated. Let us give to the state government. Anyway, we are all, the Finance Commission is not taking care of every need of the rural government, whether it is Gram Panchayat or urban government, municipal government. It's only supplementing of resources. They are giving some వేనీళ్ళకి చన్నీళ్ళు అంటారు కదా, అలా కొంత రిసోర్సెస్ ఇస్తుంది. అయితే అసలు రిసోర్సెస్ లేదు, ఏమవుతుంది, అసలు వాటరే లేదు అక్కడ. ఈవెన్ స్పూన్తో ఇచ్చినా కూడా గొప్ప వాటర్, గొప్ప సహాయం చేశారన్నట్టే ఉంటుంది. The central government is supplementing the resources of the local governments. See, where is the 52,000 crores of rupees, 52 lakh crores of rupees recommended by the 15th Finance Commission? Where are the 10 lakh crores of rupees recommended in the form of grants? And to talk about local governments only is only 4 lakh crores. That means it is only 1/17th of the total transfer. What I am saying is, the Finance Commission grants are not meant for any developmental activities. Developmental activities like construction of a irrigation project, construction of a tank, etc., etc. Maintenance of a tank. That means some of the grant can be utilized even by the 15th Finance Commission. Watershed management can be made. And the 15th Finance Commission has taken the things ahead positively towards the local governments, that 40% is given to the free of conditions, untied grant. ఎప్పటి నుంచో మేము చెప్తా ఉన్నామండి, we have been pleading in several fora that there should not be too much conditions for the use of the grant, because if there are too many conditions, either it will be unspent or wrongly spent. ఇప్పుడు ఒక suppose there is a village and Gram Panchayat, they have good resources, water resources ఉన్నాయి మనకు అలాగా, they have piped water, earlier they have done it. If the grant is to be spent only for water purpose, what to be done? Either they misuse it or eat away, put some bills, etc., or misuse what I say, or unspent. So freedom should be given. Rightly, Dr. Chaudhary has pointed out, it's not 3 F's, it should be 4 F's. Freedom is also equally important. Freedom, and the Gram Sabha and the respective Sarpanch should be given the freedom to spend the money for the development or maintenance to the felt needs, what the village requires. Suppose there is a grant for sanitation, the street lighting is important, it should be facilitated for street lighting. So that kind of aspect is taken care of by this particular government. And coming to the issue raised by Manoj Reddy, actually I have not gone through the GO issued with regard to that. Actually, as an expert or a student of economics, rather a former member of State Finance Commission, I cannot totally take it for granted that it is like this. Why the central government has taken a decision to channelize the grants in aid directly to the local bodies? I don't know whether it is only in the case of Telangana or in the with reference discretion element. We have to go through the provision, I mean GOs issued, because as per the recommendation of the 15th Finance Commission, there is only one condition: it should be given to the state government, and in turn the state government should channel the grant amount, release the grant amount within 10 working days since the receipt of the grant amount by the state government. Otherwise, they have to pay the interest amount. Whenever they pay, along with interest amount, they have to pay. Interest amount is also, it has specified very clearly that not say 1%, 0%, 0.5% interest. It should be the interest on par with the interest of a state development loan it has taken in the earlier year. Very clearly, the provision is there. So it is the, I don't know why not only in Telangana. Yesterday, one of my research scholars, he was telling that their Gram Panchayat received grants directly from the central government. I don't know whether it is, whether the central government has taken a decision where the state governments, I mean, against complaints from the respective local bodies, whether the state government is not releasing properly, timely, or diverting funds, etc., the central government has taken a decision or not, I don't know. But as per the Finance Commission, 15th Finance Commission, because by 15th Finance Commission, you can't make any deviation. It is accepted by the President of India and put in the, along with ATR, action taken report in the Parliament, and it was approved and it is binding. If there is a deviation, one can go to court of law. Such a strong case is there, legal binding is there. So unless we see the GO, if you have GO, Mr. Nirajan Reddy, Manoj Reddy, you please send it to me. I'm curious to read it. So the fact is, that is a truth. The central government has sent grants directly to the Gram Panchayats. Yesterday, somebody told me, my research scholar, with regard to, I told him that I have a lecture like this. Then he told me like that. That is a news to me actually. So our webinar got some masala, but I'm sorry that I don't have a full answer, because without knowing the total issue and the GO, without going the GO, legalities and other things, I am not supposed to comment on that. Please excuse me for that.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
And the diversion, as some people are saying, state government is adjusting, making adjustment with regard to a part of the grant and all that. In some section of the press, I also read it for electricity bills. See, electricity provision of street lighting is also a basic need. Several panchayats are unable to pay the bills that they were accumulated, because they say that per capita grant, whatever it is, 5 lakhs or 3 lakhs, as per capita grant is given on the basis of population. In small panchayats, 5,000 population, they give only 5,000 rupees a year. See, electricity bills, they come up, they get high bills in Andhra Pradesh in several parts. I think in Telangana also it was done. Solar lamps were installed in several parts for the last 10 years. We've been on the mission. That's a wonderful project only. Gram Panchayat mainly. Indicate they need not pay the electricity bill. Only maintenance is enough. If it is converted as solar lamps and all that. But especially in the municipalities, small municipalities, several municipalities in Andhra Pradesh also, they were unable to clear the electricity bill. So when they got the bill they received the bill, Gram Panchayat Department of Gram Panchayat, they might have adjusted the bill, because 40%, to the extent of 40%, they can do it, because that is untied grant. In fact, this is the first time I commented on like this in a forum like this. I didn't make any comment because the political tones are being taken. I don't have any political type. It's a clear academic analysis. 40% of the grant can be utilized by the respective Gram Panchayat, and the Sarpanch, by getting an approval in the Gram Sabha, he can make an adjustment even for those electricity needs also. So that is the answer. Maybe it's not a full answer, it's a partial answer. But in several European countries and in USA also, the federal government gives grants directly to the local governments. There are instances like that. But if at all the central government has given, they might have done it by a cabinet approval or by issuing some GO. I don't know what happened. I request any one of the participants, if you have a GO like that, you please to me. I'm interested to see it.
Oh, it is only a hearsay.
And one more thing is, Professor, I appreciate Professor Patay Garu is a very good expert. in genetics. He spent almost 5 years in USA, and right now he is honorary professor in Andhra University. Still he is serving the university. I appreciate his interest in participating in this topic, which is semi-economic and social science oriented. Multidisciplinary. I also thank Professor Parmeshwar. Just before starting of this webinar, I sent it to him.
Okay,
I didn't put it in the group, economics group, because if somebody is interested, they can join. Because he is my close friend and colleague, senior colleague. I sent it to him. Thanks, Parmeshwar garu.
Thank you, sir.
Oh,
Thank you.
anything, Andy? Anything?
No,
I
sir.
think- Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Thanks, and I thank profusely for giving this opportunity.
No.
Though I was a bit
We are-
reluctant when Manoj contacted me because I was really a bit busy, but still it's a good forum. Prasad also told me it's a good forum. All highly educated and grown-up people.
No, we are highly honored.
Sir, yes,
I
yes.
know,
It's
I'm
great
also
honor and
equally-
privilege to listening to you, sir. Which great
Thank you
honor
very
and
much.
privilege.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
తెలంగాణ జన వేదిక జూమ్ ఆన్లైన్ మీటింగ్ కు విచ్చేసి
ఏమండి? వినపడలేదు.
వినబడుతుంది సార్. తెలంగాణ జన వేదిక జూమ్ ఆన్లైన్ మీటింగ్ కు విచ్చేసి కీలకోపన్యాసం ఇచ్చినటువంటి ప్రొఫెసర్ రకుం సుదర్శన్ రావు గారికి మా తెలంగాణ జన వేదిక తరఫున ప్రత్యేకమైనటువంటి ధన్యవాదాలు సార్. అదే విధంగా ఈనాటి కార్యక్రమంలో పాల్గొన్నటువంటి ప్రొఫెసర్ పద్దయ్య గారికి, ప్రొఫెసర్ విష్ణుచరణ్ చౌదరి గారికి, అలాగే ప్రొఫెసర్ పరమేశ్వర్ గారికి, డాక్టర్ అంజన్ రావు గారికి, మనోజ్ రెడ్డి గారికి, ఉమామేశ్వర్ రెడ్డి గారికి, వాసిరెడ్డి కృష్ణారావు గారికి, జేమ్స్ ప్రశాంత్ గారికి, డాక్టర్ ఎడ్ల ప్రభాకర్ గారికి, బిట్టు శ్యామ్, అహ్మద్ బేగ్ అండ్ ఇతర మిత్రులందరికీ పేరు పేరున ధన్యవాదాలు తెలియజేసుకుంటూ ఈనాటి ఈ కార్యక్రమం ఇంతటితో ముగిస్తున్నాం సార్. వచ్చే వారము ఇంకో అంశంతో కలుసుకుంటామని తెలియజేస్తూ అందరికీ మరొకసారి చెప్పుకుంటూ అందరికీ మరొకసారి థ్యాంక్ యూ ఎవ్రీవన్.
రాము గారు, నేను తెలంగాణ ఎకనామిక్ అసోసియేషన్ లో మెంబర్షిప్ కూడా ఉంది నాకు.
వెరీ నైస్ సార్, వెరీ నైస్.
నేను హైదరాబాద్ లో ఉండేవాడిని. when I was
రియల్లీ
member
సార్?
of స్టేట్ ఫైనాన్స్ కమిషన్, అప్పుడు జాయిన్ అయ్యాను అక్కడ.
ఓకే, ఓకే.
ఇన్విటేషన్. We have good number of friends also. Thank you very much, అండి.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you all. Good night.